Speaking of action, I'm going to go now to another man of action from this week. Gavin Wax is the president of the New York Young Republicans. Gavin, thanks for joining us on War Room Pandemic.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Hey, Gavin, so let's start at the top. Take us through this whole thing, because what you did was something that I've been talking about on this show for a while now. We saw it in the United Kingdom with the Patriots surrounding the Churchill statue, the veterans of the Grenadier Guards surrounding the cenotaph on the streets of London. We've started to see it now here in the United States too, people fighting back. And I'll talk through my experiences of confronting some protesters yesterday in downtown Washington, D.C. But talk to us about where the issue struck for you as the president of the New York Young Republicans, what you did, how you did it. Walk us through that whole thing.
Well, yes, Raheem, you nailed it on the head. I mean, we're seeing today the working classes of both the UK and the United States standing up for their legacy, for their history, for their traditions. We're absolutely sick of this upper middle class bourgeoisie revolution that's engulfing our nation, this Maoist cultural revolution, which is seeking to destroy our statues, deface them, and essentially erase our past. And what we saw this past Sunday, over 200 patriots gathered on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, which you all know is obviously a very big conservative hotbed, but they gathered there in the heat. We had a rabbi pass out from the heat, but we were there. We stood tall and proud for our statues, for our history, and for our police, for our flag. And, you know, we called out the feckless leadership of both parties who are completely missing in action as this is all ravaging our nation. And, you know, the people are just absolutely sick of it. This is the real silent majority. These are the people that get up every day to work a job they hate, for a boss they can't stand, to make just enough money to live paycheck to paycheck. And for all their hard work and taxes, what do they get from our political elites? Absolutely nothing. Rising crime, homelessness, and now they have to watch our cities burn. So we stood up, we said enough is enough. And we're not going to be lectured to by some uppity, you know, grad student with a liberal arts degree living off daddy's trust fund.
Well, can we, to the producers at America's Voice, can we play Gavin's speech there? I see the B-roll playing, but actually, let's get some audio from what you, Gavin, you said there out in the field this weekend. Let's roll that clip.
NYPD, 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 NYPD. Where are our leaders? Where are our leaders?
We'll get more of that from the protest as well. There's more footage, and we want to play what you actually said there, Gavin. I realize, by the way, nobody's blaming any production staff today. We are with Stephen K. Bannon on the boat. We are with Jack Maxey in the field in Washington D.C. So we've got a lot of production balls in the air. Jack Posobiec, you had a question for Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin, I wanted to ask, so, you know, we've seen the targeting of the specific statues around the country, and in New York, they focus right now, at least, on Teddy Roosevelt. They haven't made it to Lady Liberty yet. I'm sure they'll get there. But what was it about Teddy Roosevelt and his really stand as a populist Republican that you think speaks to this moment, why you went there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jack. Teddy basically founded the New Nationalist movement, almost sort of a precursor in many ways to the Trump movement. He was a populist. He had some progressive underpinnings, of course, but he was a proud American. He loved this country. He fought for this country. He bled for this country. And he's one of the most popular presidents in U.S. history. I mean, this was a man who was ahead of his time in terms of race relations. This is a man who was ahead of his time in many ways, beyond just that. But it just goes to show that they'll continue to move the goalpost in this slippery slope of historical destruction. It doesn't matter if you're a guy like Teddy with a fantastic mustache and, you know, a great Rough Rider uniform. They'll still come after you. He was a conservationist. He was a protectionist. He wanted universal health care. I mean, these are all tenets supposedly of the left, but they'll eat their own. And this is just about erasing the past so they can build their new dystopian future, just like they did in Maoist China, just like they did in all the tyrannical regimes throughout history, from the Jacobins to Nazi Germany. So Teddy Roosevelt is worth defending, and even the New York Times couldn't even hit us hard, because everyone knows. I mean, there's a huge population, Democrats, Republican, who still love the guy. So if the New York Times did a neutral piece on us, you could see that there's a massive support for him behind the scenes that's not being shown.
Yeah, Gavin, it's been incredible work. We're going to roll the clip of you from this weekend now. Let's play it.
NYPD, 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 NYPD. Where are our leaders? Where are our leaders? We elect them every year, and they
tell us they're going to do everything we promised, and they never, ever deliver. I don't care what party they are, Democrat or Republican. We got plenty of weak, limp-wristed Republicans in office who do nothing. Where are they? Where are they for our statues? Where are they for our flag? Where are they for our police officers? Nowhere. I don't care what letter is next to your name. If you're not defending this country, you don't get my vote. I hope as well they don't get your vote. Thank God. But thank God we do have someone with some balls, some chutzpah in the White House who's going to stand up and protect our people. Protect our history. He's a New Yorker. He's from Queens. He stands for the people. And the other day he passed an executive order that did up to 10 years in prison for anyone caught defacing and destroying American monuments. God bless that. They pillage our cities, they loot our stores, they destroy our communities, they erase our history. Enough is enough. Basta!
Gavin, incredible scenes there, especially as you say in the hotbed of republicanism, the Midtown Manhattan. Gavin, the shirt. We have to have a partners discussion about the fashion choices that you're making there. Gavin, I wanted to bring this up as well. That it's not just putting a protest together that you've been so successful at, but few people outside of maybe the Republicans in New York will know this. But you kind of took over the New York Young Republicans with our producer Vish Burra here from the ground up and rebuilt the organization. And actually, Jack Posobiec and I spoke together at the club on the same night, and I couldn't believe you had a greater show of participants, of force. By the way, of intellectual heavyweights in the audience. Frankly, some of them should have been speaking, let alone us.
That was one of the best nights
up there. And there were so many of them. So, well, I mean, how did you do it? Why was it so? Why have you dedicated your life to this the last couple of years?
Well, thank you, and that's absolutely correct. Producer Vish and I basically led a coup d'etat of a very old and storied Republican institution here in New York City, the New York Young Republican Club. It has a legacy going back to the 1860s. You know, they invited Abraham Lincoln to speak at Cooper Union and then launched his presidential career. But for many years, it was a bastion of Northeastern Rockefeller liberal establishment Republicans, and they were still continuing in that mold until just before Vish and I took over. And when we did take over, we were told, oh, don't go right, don't become conservative, certainly don't become populist. And if you embrace Trump, your club will die, you'll suffer. And, you know, we bucked that trend and we went full right. You know, we obviously had you, Raheem, we had you, Jack. We've been having some great events, and, you know, we're breaking fire code every other week. We have a speaker. You know, we're getting 400 or 500 people to show up to our events. The membership has soared. We're the largest club in the country now. We're raising tons of money, and it just proves that there's a massive silent majority. There's a demographic that wants to see some people with a backbone, with a spine, to speak for the views that everyone holds. That's why Tucker is doing so great. That's why you guys are doing so great. If we just had some people that would look beyond like the rigged polls and their stupid cocktail parties, they would get a ton of success in doing this.
Yeah, I got to say, that's Tucker Carlson's Republican Party out on the streets, and the footage that we just showed, and it's a great credit to him. He's a great inspiration to so many of us. Gavin, we've got about a minute and a half left here. No, I don't want to get personal with any of this, so let's leave names out of this. But you have seen in the surrounding boroughs in New York not quite the same push for working class Republican values. There still are the old establishment creeps lurking around, are there not?
Oh, yes. I'm getting sent tweets from these cowards who won't even, you know, have the balls, I don't know if I could say that, to at me, basically claiming that the 200 plus patriots who showed up were a bunch of losers who could only quote Teddy Roosevelt, and these guys, these consultant hacks, these grifters who prey on Republican candidates who want to, you know, make a difference, who prey on the donors, who prey on the grassroots. They're attacking us, they're mocking us, they're taking cheap shots at us. It's a real shame, but you know, their days are coming. They have no popular appeal. They don't go viral. They're not doing the things that you guys are doing, and no one cares about them. So they're living their living in their petty little fiefdoms, and we'll continue to prove that what we're doing is the right path forward for the party and the movement.
Gavin, 20 seconds left. Just tell people where they can go to support you and support your club.
Yes, thank you, Raheem. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Parler, etc. at Gavin Wax, GavinWax. For the club, it's at NYYRC, and you can check out the club's website, www.nyyrc.com.
NYYRC. If you want to support people taking action Gavin Wax and the New York Young Republicans, the largest version in the country right now. We'll be back with more after this short break.